Alright, today we're going to make homemade meatballs. We're going to crumble our hamburger. You loosen it up by crumbling it. And this is a big mount that we are making. But you just do whatever size of hamburger you want to use. It's nice and crumbly and loose is what you want. Alright. What we're going to do is we're going to do 4 whole eggs. So if you do half the amount of hamburger, only do 2 eggs. But we're doing a large amount, so we're doing 4 eggs. And if you do smaller amount, just do 1 egg. So we're going to go ahead and add our salt. We just sprinkle some in. Our pepper. And we're going to whisk it. Okay, don't over whisk it. We're going to add just a little bit of soy sauce. Just a couple sprinkles. A splash of milk. And then we stir it again. We're going to pour this over top of our hamburger mixture. We're going to salt and pepper it again. We're going to use onion powder. You just sprinkle some on. We're doing minced onion. You just sprinkle a nice amount on. Parsley. Sprinkle a nice amount on. Garlic powder. And then we use seasoned breadcrumbs. And we're going to put a good amount in here. This is our base to make the meatballs. Fill in the cracks so it's easier to mix. And then you're just going to start scrunching it all in there. Just pound and squish. We want to get it all blended in really good. And then we're going to add some more breadcrumbs. A nice amount. Just remember, you can always add in, you just can't take away. And the more you mess with this and the more you add breadcrumbs, the harder it gets. And when I say pound it in because it'll get real stiff. Alright, once it gets stiff like that and it becomes one big large lump, you're done. You don't need to add any more breadcrumbs. And since you touched your breadcrumbs with raw hands, you want to wash the container off really good. All done on that one. We're going to start the next step. We get to roll the balls. So We don't do big ones. You can choose to do big ones. They just take longer to cook. So we do bite size. So you roll them into a ball. And I put them in a separate pan. We just roll, pinch a piece off, and roll. Pinch a piece off, roll. Pinch a piece off, and roll. And you kind of want to squeeze them to get them more compacted, and roll. Alright, next step, we're doing our stove, a big pot with sauce in it. So I have 2 big of the ragu. We're going to go ahead and put one in, just enough to fill the bottom. For right now, we're going to preheat our skillet to 2 or 3 on a simmer, and then once this heats up, we'll start putting our meatballs in. If you don't want to do the stove with the sauce, you can do a crock pot. They do have to simmer for 3 or 4 hours on low, but in the crock pot I would probably put it on medium or low, depends on your crock pot. If you want to start off on high and then bring it down to low, you can, but I'd only do high on the crock pot for an hour. Just enough to get it started. The skillet's starting to heat up. You can feel it. We're going to add just a little bit of oil. But we're going to simmer on the stove for 3 to 4 hours. It just depends how you want it to cook up. The longer, the more richer and softer the meatballs. But 3 hours they'll be done. They'll be a little bit more firmer. But it also depends on the size of your meatballs. So always cut a meatball open, check it. It will have a slight pink look to it because of the spaghetti sauce. But if it looks more pink, then it's not done. So we got our skillet heated up. We're going to go ahead and put some of our meatballs in. We're just browning them up. We're not cooking them all the way through. So that's about what we want to start with for right now, so we have better chances to get them all browned up really good. Give them a little shake. And as you see, they're just now starting to brown. We're going to put the lid on now so they can simmer for a little bit with the lid on. And remember, they're very delicate because they're not cooked yet, so you want it to be easy. But see, they're starting to get a nice little brown. So we're just going to turn them and rotate them. Meatballs are a little harder to turn. Sometimes you have to just use your fingers. But be very careful so you don't get burnt. So we'll put the lid back on. Make sure you wash your hands every time you touch the raw meat. Move them around a little bit. I'm going to move them around some more. And remember, they're very delicate until they start browning up more. They will literally squish apart. And be careful because they are hot. So now you can kind of start using a spatula since they're starting to cook, but we need them to cook more. We're starting to get a nice brown on it. And don't worry if it gets a little crispy. It's going to be cooking for several hours in the crock pot or your sauce pot, and you won't even know it. And just letting you know, meatballs are not a fast dish, but it makes a good meal on a Sunday or a family meal. So we're browning them up. See, they're getting nice and browned and yummy. Just a little bit longer, and then we'll take them off the stove and we'll transfer them to our pot. We're going to check these again. They're looking nice and brown and yummy. Alright. We are going to now transfer them to our sauce pot. Pick up. You want to use tongs because they're still gentle, still delicate, but you also don't want all that grease. So you just lay them in there. And as you can see, they make more grease even though you add a little bit. We don't want all that in our sauce. Okay. So now that we got them transferred, we're going to add some more to the pot. And there's your meatball size you're going to transfer. Now we're going to put our lid on them and let them simmer again. So since we got the meatballs in here, we're going to go ahead and transfer some more sauce because meatballs are very delicate. Alright, I didn't have enough room in the other pot, so I went ahead and did a bigger one. But there's our meatballs. And see, they're perfectly done. The slight little pink is because of the spaghetti sauce. We started cooking at 12:30. It's now 5:30, so they're completely done and they just fall apart.